Hello, you guys. What is up? I'm just turning up the volume of my jazz that I'm listening to. Anyway, yeah, so it's been a number of days since the unboxing video from the cubicle.us, and I decided to do a follow-up vid. And anyway, I just got back from work and I'm enjoying a coffee and decided I might as well just do some solves while I chat away for a little bit. Now, I'm definitely, this is definitely not gonna just be cubing videos all the time, but anyway, because I'm getting back into it, I'm like really stoked to be cubing, and so that's just what this is gonna be for, yeah, there's just gonna be a concentration of cubing stuff for a little while anyway. So that being said, when I first came to the Pyraminx, I wasn't even sure how to go about solving it. I think within one of the first 2 nights or whatever, I had like 2 faces solved, and that was attempting to do it by solving it by face first, like face by face. I've since learned that that's not, well, if it is a way to go, I'm not sure how to finish it, but the other way that I know from like 3x3 and 2x2 and a ton of other puzzles is obviously layer by layer. So that's what we're gonna do here. Now I got pretty far. Like the first layer is the easiest thing, and I'll just finish this up real quick just to show you guys what I mean. But so yeah, there's the first layer. So first face, and then all the way along here, you see that's completely solved. So like that is super intuitive. Like you don't need algorithms to figure that out. At least I didn't. That's just really, really easy. It's basic to sort that out just by thinking about this logically. So anyway, when I got to this part, this is where I was kind of stumped, because it's like, well, we just want these 3 swapping, and you definitely get different cases. We'll go through a few different solves as I chat away here and just do my thing, but yeah, anyway, I got to this point, and that's when I was like, okay, either I'm just turning and seeing what happens for days on end and maybe not getting anywhere, or I just look up some algorithms to help solve it. And so yeah, that's what it is. It's a lot of fun. I've just been doing solve after solve with this guy because it is a blast, and I'm like really stoked to just get more puzzles. So anyway, what we're gonna do is, okay, yeah, that's not cool. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put these at the back, and now sometimes I've seen people get this in like a single cycle, and sometimes I get that, other times I will require going through 2 cycles. Or sometimes I get to another stage and then there's another algorithm to do it. So it really depends. And I'm not 100% sure all of the ins and outs yet, but we're just gonna like do that. Okay, so now as you can see, we got like all these pairs on each side. So this is one of those cases where you require another algorithm. So it's R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U prime, R prime. And now that rotate. Now, okay, one thing I want to specify too. There's one for clockwise and counterclockwise. I wasn't even paying attention to which way they were going. I'm pretty sure that's the clockwise, but let's just do that again. Okay, see, and there we have it solved. So if you, like depending on which way those pairs are positioned, it may require a single one, depending on which way you're going, or whatever the case is. So anyway, we're gonna scramble this up again. Another thing that I was never super, I love the Pyraminx, I love the shape, I love that it's a pyramid, but at the same time, I almost never scramble these unless I just feel like doing it for kicks, because that really is not a part of the challenge. At no point are you going to be stumped on what do I do with these? They could have just left these solid connected to the rest, and it would not alter the difficulty in any way. These are literally just turning for whatever reason. So normally you won't see me go like that, but sometimes I will, just to see more of the actual colors scrambled. But anyway, one thing I did want to mention was 4 years ago when I first got into cubing was, and I don't recall the company, but there was a company that released one where they had a Pyraminx without the tips. So it more or less looked like that on that side and etc., like the same on each side. So like you just imagine those all gone and you just have this shape, and I think that was super cool. If I ever see that, I'll probably pick it up and check how that is. It's going to solve the exact same way, but it's just neat having a variation of the same puzzle. So anyway, I always like starting with yellow on the bottom, so we're going to do that. So let's just figure out where we are. Not there, no. Okay, so what we want to do is get this guy over... Wait a minute, no. Okay, yeah, this guy, like that. Okay, so you always want to start with those three, whichever color is your bottom, that is. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep at my coffee too. So anyway, while I'm doing this, I'm gonna get into one thing I touched on briefly, but didn't get into in the last episode, and that was my cubing history. Might as well just flip those. So anyway, years and years ago, like everyone has grown up and seen a 3x3 Rubik's. Like that was my situation. I never had one, but I always remember seeing them here and there in different places. First layer done already. Oh, nice. And we're okay. Wow, we can just skip straight to this. And boom, solved. That was a quick solve. Without trying to be quick, of course. But anyway, it was always a really fascinating item, and yet like I said, I never had one. I never even really knew anyone that did have one. I just remember seeing them in different places and like just being really intrigued. But anyway, like I never had one. So years later, fast forward to about 4 years ago or whatever, I just thought to myself, like, wow, I've never actually sat with a 3x3 and thought about it logically. I've never attempted to solve it because I've never been around one long enough to do so. So yeah, I just had this really intense desire to just start cubing, and I picked up this guy over here. Now it's not broken, I have it bandaged because or at least at the time I was practicing solving bandaged cubes, and then last week I did this corner as well. So you have less room to you don't have less room to work with. You have less possible moves that you can do because you can't go this way. You can't do anything but that because this is bandaged. And yet, for the life of me, man, like you only have this and that to work with, and that, of course. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out how to get even this first row solved. Like, it's just so fascinating. When this is gone, for instance, like, and it's fine, you can bandage a cube however you want. And I'm getting definitely off track here, but it's part of the story nonetheless. Holy tape, you guys. All right. All right, so I can solve it when it's like in this state because, like, yeah, I learned how to do that years ago, and that's just cool. Anyway, I got this from, I think, J&J's Cards and Collectibles, and I still remember the first night I ever sat down with this and just started thinking about, like, how do you possibly solve this? Like, how do you even approach this thing? And eventually I started looking up tutorials and stuff because it is literally one of those things where unless you are just some out of this world genius who really understands like just spatial awareness and everything like that, like this is something that really requires some serious knowing. Even the 2x2, which you might think would be simpler because it's like a smaller cube and there's less to do. Like even this had me stumped when I got this Rubik's cube. Now these are official Rubik's brand. They are not, to be honest, the greatest. I would never, and this is with lube from years ago. Like it's super sluggish. I like the feeling of it, but it's super, super sluggish. But out of the box, this was brutal. And the same with this. This has been lubed, I'm pretty sure. And it turns like a dream now compared to what it was. But yeah, like seriously. So anyway, this was the first one I got, and then it wasn't too long before I got my Diane Zanchi. So this is actually meant for speed cubing. And I love this cube. I did just tons of solves on this thing way back, and I still love it, and it still performs amazingly well, in my opinion. And of course I love stickerless. So anyway, I'm gonna keep out this coffee. So yeah, I didn't even cube for too long. It was more or less like I was 100% devoted to cubing for a 3-month period. Like every single day, I was just researching different cubes. The ones that I did have at the time, I had a collection totaling 7 4 years ago. I still have them all, but that's as many as I obtained at that point. I more or less just, like every day, solve after solve on each cube. I loved sitting down and just solving my puzzles. It was so great. It still is. Like I'm getting back into that now, of course. And it's just such a nice pastime. So anyway, I will go over, before we continue with the story, I will go over just the other ones in my collection from 4 years ago. So we got the 3x3 Diane Zanchi, of course. And then we got the Rubik's 3x3, Rubik's 2x2. Then we have a Diane Zanchi 2x2, which again, like this turns amazing compared to like the Rubik's brand. It's just, yeah, like this is clunky and kind of locky in ways, but I still like it because it's a cube and it's part of my cube family. So it's like nothing against that. It's just not meant for speed cubing and like fast and fluid solves rather. Whereas this is just, yeah, nice and quick. Yeah, anyway, I could scramble puzzles for hours and that would be great. And then I have I'll save this one for last. I've got I'm almost positive this is a Shengshao mirror cube, like 3x3 of course. And it's a shapeshifter for those who are not familiar with. So it's the exact same thing as a 3x3. You solve it the exact same way as a 3x3. It's just that this one row is fatter, this one is a little thinner, and this one is super slim. So it's gonna look different. So for instance, if I'm doing a checkerboard pattern like this on the 3x3, the way that would translate if you were to do the exact same thing on this guy, oh wait 1 second, let's do it this way, it's gonna look like this, which is pretty epic. And there are a slew of wicked looking patterns you can do on 3x3s, and they just look awesome on a 3x3 mirror cube. So yeah, that's the 3x3. I think it's just amazing. This is a fun solve. I love it. There are 3x3 mirror cubes and other mirror cubes that are just straight silver or gold. Whereas I'm not sure if you guys can see this. I'll bring it up a little bit, but there's a grain on the stickers. And so there are cases where you can have it solved like this in terms of the shape being solved, but there will be like a center that is, like if the grain is going this way, the centerpiece grain will be going that way. So there's an additional layer of challenge to the stickers that have grains, because then you are like, well, okay, how do I line the center? Like what do I do to get that back in alignment? So I think that's really cool and just like a nice little bonus challenge that is present on the 3x3. But yeah, like even something simple like that, you just start getting a crazy look, and it's no time before things just look really wild. Anyway, we're gonna keep moving along. This is the Cube Twist mirror, Siamese mirror cube. So it's essentially a 3x3 here and a 3x3 here. It's just that these two cubes share a single layer. And again, this one has the grain, so there's an additional layer of challenge, but it is just wild. And again, like you can just get some crazy stuff happening with these. I'll just give you a quick example. Since I got back into cubing a couple weeks back, I haven't actually scrambled this guy yet. I think before I want to just get the bandage method down pat, because that's what you actually use on this. But anyway, like I'll just give you a quick example. So you have like stuff like turning this way, and then you can be going like that, and then back, and just, yeah, all sorts of crazy stuff like this, that, like it just gets nuts really quickly, but it is such a blast, honestly. Okay, so let's go like that, and then, oh wait a minute. Who's liking the jazz, by the way? So anyway, that's the Cube Twist Siamese mirror cubes. I really love this puzzle. Another part of this story, which I'll get to now, since we're on the topic of the mirror cubes, is there was one cube I really wanted to get, and at the time I didn't have the fundage. So that's one cube I didn't end up getting during that phase of cubing, because I got out of cubing before ever obtaining it, but it's the Pyraminx. So this is like a 5-layer, but the Pyraminx I'm pretty sure is like 7, so it's like more of a tower. It's like, I think this high or something, and they just look so gorgeous and just so crazy. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that one is like 3 cubes that share 2 layers, so it's like this, except this section here might be shared with the extension up here. So anyway, like really cool stuff. I do aim on picking that up still at some point. I'm not sure when exactly. So yeah, anyway, I haven't done a whole lot with the other puzzles that I unboxed yet. Like I've been fiddling with this one, and I thought that it might be as simple as using 3x3 method, and some of the things have sort of helped, but at the same time, this is completely a different beast. And I think the furthest I've gotten, not on this solve that I'm working on right now, but I've gotten like a full section, like just these 6, and then of course like this piece, because that's just easy. But like for the life of me, like, man, I just have no idea how this guy operates. It's really fascinating though, and I'm stoked to, yeah, either keep at it or look something up. Like that's the thing when it comes to cubing, like there's no sense just putting off solving a cube just because like I don't want it to just sit there just because I have no idea how to continue. Like to me it's far more rewarding to be like, okay, this is how far I got based on what I could figure out. Now I'm gonna look up some guidance, and yeah, it's just nice to gain that understanding instead of just being like, oh well, I only want to do it by myself, but I'm not figuring it out, so it's never gonna get done. Like that's just silly. So yeah, anyway, that's that. So anyway, let's get back to this guy here. Let's continue scrambling him up. And I do want to focus on my coffee once more. So yeah, anyway, oh yeah, let's get to, before we get into the Pyraminx, the other one, the last from my older collection. Nice. Because this coffee is definitely not gonna stay warm forever, so yeah. Anyway, this is the Tom Z. Well, we say Z in Canada, but I'm pretty sure the guy's name is Tom Z or whatever. This is the Curvy Copter from way back. So this, I've been doing a ton of, in the first week especially. Like, I haven't touched it in days now because I've just been doing Pyraminx and fiddling with some of the other stuff. But this one is amazing, and I recall just being blown away, just doing hundreds of solves a day on this thing, just one after another, and loving it. But yeah, anyway, as you can see, just like that sort of thing, just very quickly the colors get crazy. And the amazing thing about this is there are kind of two potential paths you can take. You can just do this the whole time. You can just scramble it this way. I'll just scramble it fully, just to give you an example of just how wild it gets. To be honest, this is still, to this day, one of my favorite puzzles. It's just such a fun solve. And I like ones that are super intuitive. Like, it's like the Pyraminx in a sense, where you get to, like, near the end, you probably will use an algorithm, unless you somehow figure it out on your own. But it's one of those ones where you can just at least get halfway just by thinking about it logically, and I love puzzles like that. So anyway, so that's one way of doing, like, if you can just solve it like this, and that's one path. Now there is an additional layer of challenge, and it's called, I forget what the term is, jumbling. Okay, so right now, this cube has not been jumbled. We've scrambled it, but we have not jumbled it. So what jumbling is, some puzzles have the ability to swap pieces like that. See what happened there? These two corners switched places. So now, if you do it once, that is considered jumbled. Now obviously if I'm gonna do a jumble solve, I will do probably about 10 or more of these different swaps and mix it in with normal scrambling as well. And the thing to remember about jumbling on this is, like, once you jumble even a single pair, let alone any others, it is impossible to solve this the normal method that you would use. Like, you aren't able to just use the non-jumble method if it's jumbled. It's impossible to solve this cube if you're going that route. It requires additional steps to solve this, and it more or less requires unjumbling the pieces later on. But it's just such an awesome puzzle. I love it. Now I was actually really excited, like last week, when I started looking at different, or maybe it was even before last week, I don't recall. Anyway, this new phase of me getting back into cubing, I noticed that they have new Curvy Copters. I think I saw the Curvy Copter 3, and so there are like more pieces thrown into the mix, so it's not just like these and like corners and stuff like that. It's just, there's a lot more going on, and of course it's going to be a greater challenge. So excuse me, so that is really exciting. I'll probably dip into that at some point because I love the Curvy Copter, and I think just seeing what the advanced ones are like would be really sweet. So anyway, that's the old collection, you guys. Just these 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. But like, honestly, 3 solid months, I'm not even kidding, 3 solid months of just cubing on these guys and wanting a ton of other puzzles, but just not being in a situation where I was doing, like, getting other ones. So anyway, now that that is no longer the case, like, yeah, it's just great obtaining puzzles, and it's just great solving puzzles again, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I love it. So I'm just gonna do a few more solves on this guy, see if we can get a few more different cases. Delicious. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna stop talking for a bit and just enjoy the music, and you guys can watch if you want, or you can take off. It's really up to you guys. Oh, I didn't want to do that. beautiful music. And I'm not claiming any sort of rights for the music that's playing. I literally just have some kind of like relaxing guitar and piano music 24/7 live stream playing on YouTube. So I'm just gonna trust that isn't gonna be an issue for anyone. Okay, let's go like that. Okay, let's do that. Cool. Now, as for the second order that I have coming from the cubicle, it was placed on the 7th, and the status is currently still saying that it's processing, which seems uncommonly lengthy considering the first one went super quick. So I'm wondering if they're scrambling to track down like some of the cubes I ordered or something, or like what the situation is. I'm actually aiming to email them today because I would like some sort of update as to like what is going on. Not that I'm concerned or anything, but I would just rather see what's up, and I may even want to adjust my orders slightly. But yeah, I'm really excited for that next one. I have a puzzle. I ordered 2 of the same because of this one. I don't want to spoil what it is because one of the 2 is for GT Dominator, my close friend, and yeah, he's into puzzles too, and I figured like, man, there are some really cool puzzles on this site, and some of them were on clearance for like $2 or $3, which is crazy, so I scooped up some additional goodies, and I'm excited to share some of that stuff with him too, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that order quite a bit. Okay. And of course, it never matters which side you start with, as long as you know what you're doing. Okay, so let's go with this, that. Wait, okay, there we go. I was getting myself confused there. First layer solved, okay. And we have this instance again where we have all the pairs. So like you could technically just go like, oh, like, well, what do you do now? Like, you just, like, there's nothing to do, but there's something to do. So R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U prime, R prime. R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U prime, R prime. Solved. Okay. Yeah, I just love the look of this. I think it's beautiful. Such a nice puzzle. I'm so impressed with the quality of this Pyraminx, honestly. It's crazy how great it feels out of the box. It's crazy how amazing it turns. The plastic is nice. The colors, again, are just gorgeous. Sometimes when the light hits it a certain way, like the pink with the blue in the background, it will look purple. And that's something I would love to see more of. I don't see that often enough. Like, I love purple colors, and I would love to see some transparent purple sides on cubes. Like, everyone is generally so obsessed with like the standard 3x3 color scheme, and I get it. Like, if you're like just really into that and you just want to be like a purist, then okay, like that's fair or whatever. But like, I don't want every single puzzle to just, like every single puzzle that I have anyway, to just look the same, to have the same colors. Like, I love variety. Like, as much as I would love to eventually get like the 4x4 jelly, the 5x5 jelly, and whatever else, I don't necessarily know, like I wouldn't say I want to get, like, unless I'm going to collect all the jellies anyway eventually, like I would rather have a 4x4 that has a different color scheme entirely. And then again with the 5x5 or 6x6, 7x7, etc. I would just like a greater variety of color. But yeah, anyway, I think that's going to be it for this episode. Yeah, we will definitely get up to other things other than cubing, that's for sure. Like, there will be music, there will be art, there will be board games. I'll probably go over my Magic, like MTG decks at some point. And just like, yeah, we're gonna chat about all sorts of things here and there, like fantasy novels perhaps. Maybe even I'll do like a 500-piece puzzle, or just like stream that while I chat with people on YouTube. But anyway, if you guys have ideas, feel free to let me know. But yeah, that's going to be it. You guys have an awesome day. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share your comments below. That would be awesome. Thank you so much for sticking it out with me today. And be sure to swing by again, because yeah, especially if you're into cubing. Like, I realize this is not a dedicated cubing channel, but if I'm on this cubing kick, there's going to be a lot of cubes starting to roll into this place, so be sure to yeah, just keep tabs on things here a little bit. Anyway, you guys have a great one, and I will see you next time.